I've been wanting to get people interested to do like coffee before or coffee after, or go out for a beer afterwards or something. But it's like people's time from going from like a 2-hour session to a 4-hour session. And some people would be fine for it. I guess it'd kind of just be knowing the person and
you got to find those retired guys.
What they're able to do, right? Yeah. Retired guys starting new businesses and all that. So go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get rolling.
My name is Steve Allen, and I guess we're going to learn a little bit more about me in the next hour or so.
Yep. And where are you from?
Mansfield.
Mansfield. Mm-hmm. And you've lived there your whole life?
I have.
Right? Okay.
I have.
From start to finish.
Well, yeah. I mean, my history goes back a little bit before that.
Okay.
I think I might have mentioned that I'm a bona fide hillbilly.
Yep. Right? Yeah. You mentioned that. Yep.
So yeah.
Break that down.
Break that down. Uh-huh. So that's not just a random statement. There's some truth to that.
Okay.
For anyone who's heard of the Hatfields and McCoys, I've got some history on the Hatfield side, and that is that my grandmother actually married James Hatfield in 1921, and they were married for a period of about 6 months before he was shot and killed.
Okay.
So
I did not know this story.
Yeah. If you were familiar with the Hatfields and McCoys. Feud.
Huge feud.
So James Hatfield was the last Hatfield to be murdered, from that clan. And, the story is that, he was involved, with, some illegal distilling, we should say. And he got arrested. And at the time, the revenuers were real big on cracking down on illegal stills and so on. And but ironically enough, he was let out after just a week in jail.
Okay. So
all of a sudden, other distillers in the area started getting busted.
Oh my gosh.
And they figured that he squealed on them, and they took care of it.
And they took care of him.
They took care of it.
Yep. Okay.
Right? Yep.
Wow. So you literally are a bona fide hillbilly.
Well, technically, that was her first marriage.
Okay.
I came from the second marriage.
Okay.
So a slightly more dignified.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a railroad engineer.
Okay.
So yeah, he wasn't in the biz.
I got you.
In the distilling business.
You know that for sure, though, right?
Well, I don't know that for sure. I mean, if you have an entire train car where you can haul stuff, who knows what you've got going on in there.
This is true. Changing gears a little bit. Wait, do you have, so being related to the Hatfields, was there any memorabilia that you got to see?
I actually wanted to do a little research. So I went to West Virginia, to Williamson, West Virginia is where this all went down.
Okay.
And did some background research. I found the coroner's report and the newspaper article.
Okay.
And where he was killed. Well, he was found floating down the Ohio River with the bullet hole in his head, and he was strapped to railroad ties. That's how they found him.
Okay.
That sounds pretty serious, right?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. The coroner's report, however, said cause of death unknown. So there was definitely a conflict there.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
But I will say, if there's ever an era that I would want to live in, it would be that era. Like Western cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
Like gunslingers and all the good stuff.
Yep.
I'm all about that life.
Yep.
Strapping.
So would you wear the black hat or the white hat?
You know, I'd probably go black.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're gonna be a villain, be a villain.
Might as well.
You know,
yeah.
What's the line in Batman? You either live long enough to see yourself a villain, or you die a hero. like
Okay.
that one liner
There you go.
from Batman. So I'd probably live long enough to see myself become a villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. And you have some fun stories in regards to Mansfield. One in particular, a certain movie.
Movies, plural.
Movies.
Movies.
But there's one movie that I'm referencing to.
Well, I'm guessing, none of your viewers have really heard of this one, but
Oh, you'd be surprised.
yeah, it's called The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Movie star in
Yeah.
the extended cut version sitting across from here, folks.
Extended cut. The rest I was cut out of. Right. Right. But what I like to tell people is that the scene that I was in was with Morgan Freeman. And until he worked with me, he was an absolute nobody.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
tell
that's what you
everyone,
tell
right?
people.
Yeah.
You put him on the map.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. His career took off after that.
Yep. Yeah. So talk about the whole process, how you ended up being on a show and shooting a few scenes.
Yeah, actually.
I know you've shared that story with me.
Yeah, yeah.
But for people
Yeah.
who will listen, 'cause it's super cool.
It was, strictly by accident. I was working on a house project, and I needed some parts from the hardware store, which was on the square downtown. I went downtown to the hardware store, and I noticed the streets were empty. What's going on here? And I was walking around on the sidewalk, and there wasn't a soul around. And this limousine pulls up, and guy gets out, walks around the other side of the car, opens the door, and out steps Morgan Freeman. And dude's tall, right?
Is he?
I'm looking
Okay.
up. Yeah, he's quite tall.
Okay.
And it's like, I know this guy from somewhere.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm being the genius that I am, right?
Right,
I know
yeah.
him from somewhere. And but another guy came up to me, and evidently I was dressed appropriately for 1966, which was when that particular scene would have been shot. And I think I had a red plaid shirt on and jeans. And he came up to me. He said, "You want to be in the movie?" Yeah. What do I got to do? Well, all you have to do is sit on that park bench over there. Well, okay. I had to study for that, but yeah, I thought I could pull it off.
The role of a lifetime.
The role of a lifetime. So I sat on the park bench, and when they shot the scene, this was after Morgan Freeman's character Red got out of prison. He was wandering through town, just like Brooks, the elderly man that got out before him, wondering what to do with his life. And as he's walking through the downtown area, he walks past the park bench where I'm sitting with my daughter.
Oh,
and my
okay.
daughter was, she was just about, I'm going to guess 15 months old. And so she was still a baby.
Okay.
And I sat there with her in my arms. So she goes down in history as the only baby in Shawshank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fun. And so how long did you play that role for on that? I know it was for one day of shooting, right?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing took about 2 hours.
Okay.
I mean, the amount of screen time I got was 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the experience was fun.
Yeah.
Right. It was cool to be part of something really big. And, if you go out and you take a look at, statistically speaking, some of the best movies of all time, that the public votes on, Shawshank is always in the 1 or 2 spot.
Oh yeah.
So it is just kind of cool to be part of that. Now, last year I went to the 30th anniversary reunion where the actors from the show, stage managers, directors, all came back to Mansfield.
Okay.
And we had some sit down powwow sessions with them.
That's cool.
Where they just kind of expressed their memories, and some enjoyments and some things that didn't work out so well for him,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was really cool. So for context, you took me out and we drove around, visited where some of these scenes were shot.
I did.
So downtown Mansfield, seeing all the memories and the gazebo and the bench and all, like that was super cool.
Right.
But one of the really cool things that we went and saw was the opening scene when he's sitting in the car.
Right.
And his wife is having an affair in the other room with the golf pro or whatever. And he's loading his gun and he's drinking, his cheap bourbon. And so the cabins and all them are still there. You can still rent them out for the weekend or for a week or whatever, which is super cool.
Right.
One thing I didn't notice, and you might know this, I didn't see was there a landmark at the cabins?
There's no sign.
Okay.
At that point, at the end of that, there's a short little road that you drive back to get to the cabin. There was a Shawshank movie site with an arrow pointing down that street.
Okay.
But that is that at the end of the road. I mean, it doesn't go any farther than that. And for the public who wants to see this for themselves, this is a state park. It's Malabar Farm State Park.
Okay.
You can go there, and of course you can visit Malabar Farm, but there's a couple of the movie sites were shot there. One was the cabin scene at the opening part of the movie, and then there was the rock wall that led up to the big oak tree.
Yep.
Was on that property as well.
Yeah.
Now, it's since been struck by lightning and is no longer there.
Which is crazy to think it was struck by lightning.
Yeah, it sure was.
From such an infamous scene.
Right.
Because that's when Red opens up the letters, sees the cash before he ships off to whatever island they end the movie on. But
Sewataneo.
Seatuaneo.
You're close.
You're close. He got it right. But yeah, I think it's so fascinating that a tree like that would be struck by lightning, and that'd be the reason why it. Like there's no other better way for a tree to go out than to get struck by lightning. So
right.
That's cool.
Now the other film, we can talk about that briefly.
Yes.
Was a film called Blind Justice.
Blind Justice.
Okay, and it was about corruption back in the 1940s era, and basically there were corrupt mayor and judges of this town that had made arrangements to have a prisoner escape prison. And then they were going to use that individual to do their dirty deeds.
I gotcha.
Okay. So the scene that I'm in, and this was shot at the same prison, the Shawshank prison. I'm an inmate, right? And I see that this guy's at the fence cutting the links out of the fence. And he's going to make an escape, right? And so me and a few other of the inmates saw what was happening, and we made a mad dash to the fence because we want out too, right? When I got to the fence, I wasn't waiting till the hole was big enough for me to go through. I decided I was going to go over top, right? So I jump up on the chain link fence, and I took a bullet in the back, and I died. So you can say now that you have honestly met and I know a guy who was once shot and killed while attempting an escape from prison.
Yep.
And I just talked to him yesterday.
Yep. Yeah. So I remember you talking about that a while ago. They shot that multiple times.
Yes,
to get multiple angles, and so
absolutely.
In the scene when you got shot, did they give you a stunt guy, or did they give you like a quick train on how to fall?
No.
Like, were you falling on mats or?
No, I mean, as far as the set itself, it's if you've ever been on a movie set, it's a pretty strict environment, right? There's nobody's doing things they shouldn't be doing. Nobody's making noise or looking at the squirrels over here. You're
Right.
actually have to be focused on what you're doing. So you start and stop several times while they
Okay.
fine tune that, right?
Yeah.
Once they get everything fine tuned, then you do trial runs. It's like, okay, we're going to run from here over to the fence, which was, I don't know, it was a good 150 feet anyhow.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So,
So you're mad dashing it.
I'm mad dashing it, right? And by the end of the day, I'm tired.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I've run this run now several times.
Yeah.
And but we had like the first time I'd jump on the fence and I'd fall backward onto the ground, then they'd offer their advice and their opinion.
Okay.
Right? And they'd say, okay, well, if you did this differently, or change the expression on your face, or you just got shot, right? That has to hurt, right? So they just give you these tips and pointers, and then there are other people behind me who almost make it to the fence. They get shot along the way, and then they pan up, and there's a catwalk at the top of the prison wall, and they show the guards with the Tommy guns just spraying people down, right? And, but the coolest part of that experience was that my little scene, which I was on screen all of about 5 seconds, right? Made it to the movie trailer.
Yeah.
So every time they was advertising the film, there I was getting shot in the back, right?
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun.
That's fun.
It was a B movie. It wasn't well known,
Yeah.
but it was fun to be a part of.
Still a cool experience.
Yeah.
How did you land that then? How did you get a role in
so that one was they had an ad in the newspaper that was a casting call for extras for this film.
Oh, okay.
And that you should show up at the prison on a certain day, which I did. And the shooting for that scene, I think we were out there for 2 days.
Okay.
Doing that particular scene because it was complex. There was a lot of things going on, and like you say, there was a lot of camera angles.
Yeah.
Where they, okay, we got what we wanted from this angle. Now we got to go. Like for instance, I'm running toward the fence, right? They need the camera angle of the inmates running toward the fence, but then when you jump on the fence, they wanted a direct shot forward so they could see me jump on the fence and the agony that I was in as I got shot and fell backwards, right? So, and after, a whole day of that, I was in agony.
Oh,
so
yeah, right?
It wasn't fake,
I'm
It's
sure.
like, I'm feeling the pain now.
Do you remember what you were compensated for that?
I think
the Shawshank?
Yeah, I think it was the going rate was like $300 a day.
Okay.
And that, yeah, it was, as an extra, it's not something you're going to get wealthy doing.
Yeah.
Right. It's more for the
million,
300 million a day. Now that would be all right. Yeah.
That's fun. And then how much were you paid for Shawshank? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but it was right in the same ballpark.
Okay. Okay. That's fun. Well, in your endeavors in the Hollywood filming movie making industry, you've also have written a few things.
I have.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
So you've written 2 books?
Two novels.
2 novels. Okay.
Right? Yep. And one of them is the first one is Forced Reaction, and the second is Into the Minefield. Now it's the same cast of characters in both books. The first one, Forced Reaction, is about a character by the name of Luke Monroe, and he is an IT project manager, which by trade, that's what I was.
That's what you were,
right?
yeah.
So, who wins the lottery, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, no wishful thinking on my part at all as I was writing.
Yeah,
that,
none whatsoever.
None whatsoever. But what we found out was that the lottery was run by the federal government, and Surprise, surprise, it was corrupt.
Oh, shocker.
Okay. So they put the lottery together so that they could feed the president's pet projects.
Uh-huh.
So the extra money they'd make from the lottery would go to some of these pet projects that he wanted. And turned out that the lottery was actually losing money because their ticket sales weren't as high as they projected, and there were too many winners that was hitting the bonus ball, right?
Okay.
So where they would multiply their earnings up to 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so they had to come up with a way to prevent the lottery from losing money, because they certainly wasn't going to go to the president and tell him that this idea was a failure.
Yeah.
Right. So what they decided to do was a 2-step approach. One was to they used the Federal Reserve Bank as a vehicle to reintroduce funds back into circulation. So research of the Federal Reserve Bank is that they actually shred about $25 million a day at each of the Federal Reserve facilities across the country, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then they reintroduce new bills to offset that, right?
Yeah.
Because the old bills are getting tattered and worn and ugly and whatever. So what they decided that they would do is move all of the shredding facilities across the United States into one location. And then instead of shredding the old bills, they'd reintroduce that back into circulation.
Okay.
Along with the new bills, which is a formula that could collapse the United States economy.
Yeah.
Right. So, so that was their first step. The second step was that they had figured that if the winners of the lottery no longer existed, so to speak, there would be nobody to pay the money to.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they decided that they would start eliminating the winners.
Yeah.
and my guy was a target of elimination, and he had to figure out what was going on, and it got pretty lively there for a while.
Yeah. So full action packed.
Yes.
This is an action packed novel.
Yes.
All the blood, guts, and glory.
Yep.
Very
Assassins, a lot of shooting.
Very cool.
Car chases, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is right up your alley.
Yeah.
That's right up your alley and what you love to do. So
right.
What about, and then from the first novel leading to the second novel,
right?
What's the second novel about?
So the second novel is the same guy. Now he's, they've solved the problem, right? They saved the United States from collapse and all this stuff and saved their lives. But into the second novel, he hooks up with an old college buddy of his, who was he became a neuroscientist, and he had invented a device that could be injected into the brain and monitor some of the gray areas of the brain that they didn't really have a good understanding of what it did. By monitoring the brain, they could start collecting data, and it was through his invention that they could do this. Well, when it came time to test on an actual human subject, he was not permitted to attend the event, right? Okay. He wasn't allowed to be in the room. He wasn't allowed to interact with this person because they didn't want any bias that could steer the experiment into a different direction.
Okay.
So he had to isolate himself from that, and he got very upset about that.
Yeah.
So he decided he was going to experiment on himself.
Okay.
And so he injected the device into himself, and that's when things got a little strange.
Yeah.
Basically, he turned on his computer, and the images that that was being collected in the device would show up on the screen. And he started seeing a mirrored life where he was married to Luke's fiance.
Okay.
Okay. And he knew that it was, and he believed that it was an alternate reality. And the only way to make it real was to get Luke out of the picture.
Okay.
So, yeah.
More action. More car chasing.
Some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
some
exciting.
Shooting, that kind of stuff.
That's exciting. And actually, I have them.
Oh, I need to sign those for you, don't I?
You do. That's why I was squinting over here. I was like, I'm pretty sure I put those over there.
Yeah.
All right. So, which one? Forced reaction.
Forced reaction
is the first one. Yep. So forced reaction right there. And then look at that picture of Luke. His good old glory days. And then into the mind field. Now, you've always been a car guy.
Yeah.
Right? So what got you into cars?
Yeah, I guess I've always been that way. You know, I think, you know, when I was young, you know, I turned 16, got my driver's license, and just like any kid that age, you know, you want the cool hot rod that turned heads, you know.
Yep.
And that was kind of a big thing at that time. And instead, my dad talks logic to me, and he says, you're going to be paying for your own repairs, your own insurance, your own blah, blah, right?
Yeah.
I suggest you get something you can use to make money with. So I bought a pickup truck, an old scrappy pickup truck that I could haul trash with.
Okay.
And so goodbye cool car era, right?
Mm-hmm.
I figure if I made enough money, I could get the cool cars later.
Yeah.
Right. So I focused my attention on hauling trash.
Okay.
And like I say, I was 16 years old, and I started going door to door, knocking on people's doors and say, I'm starting up a new trash business. Would you be interested in me hauling your stuff? Right. And, after the first week, I ended up with, I think I had 35 clients the first week.
Okay.
And it's like, there's something to this, right?
Yeah.
So by the time I graduated high school, I was running 3 trucks, and the kids I went to school with actually worked for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's was cool. An interesting part of my life.
Yeah. But that helped build up the funds.
Helped build up the funds. And then, you know, of course, you know, life takes over, right? And you'd get a cool car, and then you'd have to sell it because you need the money, and then, you know, and you kind of get in that cycle.
Okay.
Right? Now, if you hold up the second book again,
that's your car.
That is my car.
That's your car.
That's my car now.
And that's
one of them. That is a 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1.
And this is what you have now, right? This is the one.
It is.
It's a very sharp car, ladies and gentlemen.
It is all original, and it's in like new condition. But it's also, we did a background search on it. I had a report done and found that it was the only one made with that specific set of options. So
oh, wow. Okay.
It's a one of one.
It's a one of one.
Right.
I forgot it was a one of one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is very fancy. So you take that to car shows.
I do.
And you kind of,
along with another one,
you kind of win. Well, we'll get to the other one in a minute.
Okay.
But you have a lot of awards, trophies when you do car shows.
Yeah.
Some first places.
There's other cool things that, you know, when you get a car like that, you look for different places to go and events to jump into. You know, I've had the opportunity to drive that car out on the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. I drove it around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Okay.
The Mansfield Motor Speedway was a quarter-mile NASCAR track. It's no longer in operation, but we had a car show at the track prior to the race. And the winner of the car show then got to pace the race.
Oh, okay.
and I won.
And you got to pace the
So I got,
race.
and this was the 4th of July weekend.
Okay.
So my wife is holding an American flag out the one side of the car. I'm holding an American flag
Oh
out the
my
other side of the
gosh.
car, and we're going around the track in the Mustang. I
That's
mean,
fun.
it was a good day.
That's fun. I'm sure you could find YouTube videos of that
You know, I
event.
never looked. I never.
I'm curious to see if you just look up that race
Yeah, I don't know.
opening scene or first,
Yeah,
I'm sure you'd find some footage of that.
Yeah,
That would be
maybe.
cool to see.
Yeah.
Some pastime memories.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That's fun. So how many years have you had that car then?
I've had that since 2014.
Okay.
So 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Now to get to this other vehicle.
Right. So the other vehicle was a gift.
Uh-huh.
My wife passed away in 2021. And so, you go through all the emotional stuff that you go through, and then you have to make a decision. Do I stay isolated and commiserate in your own feelings and stuff, or do you make a decision to get on with your life? And that's what I did. I decided I'm going to get on with my life and move forward. So I started dating again, and I found a very lovely lady that I decided that we're going to be together, and so we got married.
Uh-huh.
And as a wedding gift, I gave her a Plymouth Prowler.
Prowler.
And this one modified a little bit. It had the front bumper delete kit. Grill's been upgraded, and it's got Lamborghini door kit on it. So the doors open up in the scissors type. Yeah. So a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a hoot to drive.
Is that a convertible?
It is.
Too? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So all the more fun.
Yep.
That's fun. I love that.
And I let her decide what she wanted, right?
Yeah.
And we went to several car shows, and she's poking around because she knows that, of course, she's very cost conscious, right? So she wants she knows she likes the cool expensive stuff.
Yeah.
But she feels that she should have the cheap stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I said, just forget about that. Let's not even talk price. Just tell me what you like.
Yeah.
So she's looking around, and she decided she wanted a kind of a 2-seater sports car. And every time she saw a Corvette, it really caught her eye. So she was kind of zeroing in on the Corvettes until the one day we went to a show where there was a Prowler there, and you could see it in her eyes. The beam of light came down from the heavens,
Gates opened up,
and the angels started to sing,
Yep.
and then it was at that moment I knew that's what she wanted. And
the Plymouth Prowler.
Yeah, so we went on a little search, and we found one. Yep.
Very fun.
Yep.
And she loves it.
She does.
She's obsessed with it.
Overwhelmed with it, maybe, but better word. Yeah.
All right.
She doesn't feel that she deserves something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a woman who just got another new car, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And same story, right? It's like, forget about price. Just tell me what you like.
Yeah.
And we're driving around from, a couple car lots, and ooh, I like that one. And she points toward one, and it's like, well, that's a Cadillac.
Yeah.
We go to another lot. Ooh, that one's nice. Well, that's a Lincoln.
Yep. Yeah.
But in order to, there's no way she was going to allow me to buy a new Cadillac.
Yeah.
Just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But we did find a good used one.
Oh, yeah.
A nice one that kind of fits her cost-conscious mindset and still give her the pizzazz she was looking for.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. That's always a good time. So I want to dive into a little bit career-wise, because you were in IT.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So Well, I started my career working for. I did a little stint as a DJ at a radio station for about 6 months, and saw guys that had been there for 15 years who were still making minimum wage, and it's like that's not really a career path.
Yeah.
So I went to work for the phone company. And I was a central office equipment installer. So I'd travel around at various locations and install new equipment when it came out onto the market. And I did that for about 15 years or so. And then I got into key systems and PBXs and, things that would be installed at a business's location. And then eventually I went to work for a company called Quest Communication in Columbus that built the backbone long haul network on fiber. And so I was a project manager there for a number of years. And then I had the opportunity to take over production support for all of their software. And by the time I retired, I was the senior manager for global software support worldwide. So I was the guy, right?
You were the guy. You were the guy to call.
I was the guy, yeah.
You were the guy to call last.
No, I was the guy that they called when they were upset.
Yeah.
Right. But and that becomes a process that you learn, right? One of my primary roles was to calm people down, right? Because they're upset by the time they come. This thing don't work. I got to have this. I got a lot of work to do. I'm in trouble. Okay, well, let's calm down. And they want to go back to the complaining part, but that's not helping us now, right? We have to figure out what's going on and why it doesn't work.
Right.
And so we'd have to pull people back into that mode of thinking. It's like we're trying to help you here, right?
Yeah.
And eventually I got, after doing it for several years, you kind of get good at it.
Yeah.
But I did that for a long time. I had 115 people on my team that reported to me. And I had teams in, a large part of my team was in India.
Okay.
I had several people across the United States in various states, and I had a small team in London, in the UK.
What's a situation that would look like that someone would call you that you'd have to fix or resolve?
Well, I was over 3,400 different pieces of software.
Okay.
My team was responsible for.
Okay.
So it depends on it could be anywhere from this thing doesn't work on one machine.
Okay.
Okay. Well, why is that, right? Are the parameters on the machine set up incorrectly, or is it defective in some way, right? We have to isolate that. Other times we would have perhaps an ordering system or a billing system that would go down and be dead in the water. And we'd have to get that up and running because, obviously the company's income is dependent upon those things working.
Right.
So then it would be all hands on deck. I would pull in a team of people, and then we'd focus on solving that specific problem. All my other problems would wait until we got through that, and then got it back up and running. Every now and then you'd lose an entire data center. And then that's when the marathon days hit.
Yeah.
Where I think the longest period of time that I went through was about a 36-hour outage.
Wow.
And
would you have to be up during those entire times to make sure the system gets back to operational?
Yeah, I mean, we were on the call. We'd set up a conference bridge, and we'd get on these calls and have to be there.
Okay.
Now, if for some reason I needed a nap, which I did,
right
after after the first 24 hours, you're kind of fried.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You got to get some sleep time in.
Yeah.
So then you've got somebody on your team you designate as in charge at that point.
Okay.
go get your rest, and then when you wake up, come back and log in again. Thankfully, that didn't happen very often.
Yeah.
I think over a period of 16 years, it only happened to me maybe 3 times,
Okay.
which still
It is good.
is good, but it's not good when it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. That'd be wild. IT department, all that technology and stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of technology, you have a little black box sitting there.
I have. Well, first of all, before talking about this, let's talk about the organization that I belong in that led me to get this.
Yes. Yeah, that works.
Okay. I am, I am retired from IT. Okay. But when I was in IT, I was also the, on the technical advisory board for 2 schools. And that was Pioneer Career and Technology Center in Shelby, Ohio, and North Central State College. And I still teach evening classes at North Central State in project management and leadership. Okay. But in addition to that, I am the treasurer of the North Central Ohio Sertoma Club. And Sertoma is an acronym for Service to Mankind. And what we do is we raise funds for hearing impaired children. And we've got, different events and stuff that we do throughout the year to raise funds. And then one of the charges that we gave to the organization this year was to put together a demo kit of all of the technologies that are available for assisting the hearing impaired community, right? Or the deaf community. So one of the newest things that just came out on the market, I have in my hands here. And what this is a, it's called HearView. We'll just unpack it here as we're talking. And what HearView are very simply a pair of glasses. And you think, okay, so you're going to give a pair of glasses to a deaf person and that's going to help, right? No. These are very cool because what these are closed caption glasses. So as you put them on, it will actually print out everything that's being said. If you're talking to someone, what they're saying is actually being printed out on the screen.
Of the glasses.
Themselves. So the person wearing the glasses can see it very plainly, but the person looking at you doesn't see anything. Just looks like they're wearing a pair of glasses. So I also thought that we'll power this sucker up and do a little experiment if you'd like to see it in action.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Okay. So let me get my phone out of my pocket.
So for people who listen to audio on Spotify, these glasses are, they kind of look like what Meta is producing as far as like the thickness of the arms and just flat black color style. But they look very sleek, very updated technology. That looks really cool.
Okay. All right. We got the glasses on. Now we come over here, and on my phone, what I'm doing is actually powering up the software.
Okay.
The phone and the glasses work in conjunction with one another.
Okay.
So if you have someone who is a deaf mute, they can still have a conversation with you just like you and I are having right now.
Okay.
That is, they'll be able to see what's being said through the glasses, and then anything that they want to say to you can be printed out on the phone screen.
Okay.
And you'll be able to read what they're trying to say to you.
Okay. So in conjunction to the partnering with the glasses and phone, does the phone pick up like audibly?
Go ahead and try those on.
HearView.
Yeah. So as I
speak,
speak,
my gosh,
how cool is that? So as I'm speaking, you can see what I'm saying, right?
This is wild.
Yes.
That is so cool.
And now it'll pick up what you're saying as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm seeing that.
So there are features in there that will also pick up specific sounds.
Okay.
Like if a doorbell rings, it'll tell you doorbell.
Okay.
If a dog is barking, if a car is honking, right? But the coolest thing yet is that if you're wearing those glasses, you can communicate with someone who speaks a different language. So let's say that you've got someone who speaks only Japanese, right? It'll translate what they're saying in English. You'll be able to see that in the glasses. And then when you speak, it will print it out on the screen in Japanese.
Oh my gosh.
So you can show them what you're saying. It is very cool technology.
I really wish I knew Japanese right now. Konnichiwa, you know?
Right, yeah.
Oh, man. That is wild.
Yeah.
And so the letters are a bright green.
Right. And from where I'm sitting, I'm looking at you, I don't see a thing.
You can't see any
It just
of the
looks like
lettering,
you're wearing
nothing.
the glasses and that's it.
That is so cool. Yeah, that's wild. That is some wild technology, but very cool. So if I'm a deaf person, I would type it out on the phone and it would show up here for someone to
if you're a deaf person, you can speak. Right?
Yeah.
All right. The glasses will pick up voice and print that out automatically.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Wow.
So you don't have to type anything.
That's so wild. Are you able to change the color of the font of the lettering?
You know, here's the interesting thing is they just arrived at my door yesterday.
Oh.
So it took me a minute to get the, I uploaded the software. I got it all working just fine.
Okay.
But I haven't had a chance to experiment with a lot of the extra features yet.
Yeah, that is very cool. That is a very cool feature.
Yeah.
I feel like like there's this trending that people want subtitles on their movies and TV shows.
Right.
This would be perfect for that.
Well, they actually make a cheaper set.
Okay.
That is just for subtitling into a television set.
Okay.
So you got a Bluetooth connection,
Yeah.
right? And you can Bluetooth directly into the glasses and then it'll subtitle. Now, this goes way beyond that. And that is that there's no Bluetooth connection between what I'm saying and what you're hearing.
It's just picking up.
It's just picking it up. And another interesting thing is I noticed that most voice recognition systems misspell a lot of words. Mm-hmm. If you look, it's spot on.
Yeah.
It's very good technology.
I'd say it's 99% spot on.
Right.
99.9%.
So anyhow, with Certoma, what we're doing is putting this demo kit together of all these assistive devices, which we can take out in the community and show people.
Okay.
But then we also assist people in acquiring these things. Okay. So if you are a deaf individual who is in need of, things that we donate to people throughout the year are strobe lights that are attached to their doorbell.
Oh,
so,
okay.
You press the doorbell, the light flashes, right? Or to a telephone so that phone rings, you've got a strobe light that goes off.
Okay.
And there's a lot of devices like that. There's vibrators that you can put inside the pillow of an individual, right? So that if the alarm clock goes off, they can't hear the alarm clock, but they can feel the vibration. That'll wake them up, right? And for people who are who perhaps don't have insurance, they're struggling financially, then Certoma can also provide assistance for them to actually acquire and get these things.
Okay. That is so cool.
And that's what we do with our fundraising.
Okay. So with these type of glasses, this would be like a demo kit to show people, right?
Well, that's an actual working pair.
Well, I mean, as far as like for them to see in like a physical product,
Yeah, yeah.
of like knowing how it works. And
When we go around, that's my intent, is to do what I'm doing with you right now, and that is
Right.
showing them the technology, how it works, and um, and if it meets their needs.
Wow, that is so cool. Now, how much do these run for?
Um, that particular set is about $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, that seems kind of like on a low end.
Well, when you
For-
consider what the price of hearing aids are,
Yeah.
hearing aids is $3,000 to $5,000 pretty easily.
Yeah.
And now, obviously this isn't going to help your hearing at all, but it will help you communicate.
Yeah.
So if you are someone who has severe hearing loss, but are not totally deaf, you would do a combination of the glasses and hearing aid.
Yeah.
That could put you in a place where you could communicate with people all day long, and they would have a hard time detecting whether you were deaf or not.
Okay. Yeah. These are very cool. So when selling these, is this something that your organization would help raise funds for?
Yeah,
For
we don't sell these things.
Okay.
Right. What we do is we introduce the technology to people, show them it's there, and then we will assist them in purchasing them if they need the help.
Okay. So I'm still curious, is there a mic in those glasses that picks up the audio?
Yeah,
right?
there has to be, but I do not know where it's at.
They've hidden it very well.
They have hidden it well. So no, I'm not sure where it's at.
Yeah, those are very cool. Very cool. HearView.
Yes. So if you want to do some research online, then you can go out and read about it.
That's cool. And the package comes with instructions, charging cable, glasses, all
charging
the basics.
cable. Yeah.
That's a very cool piece of technology.
Yeah, it's a USB rechargeable battery.
Okay. Now, do you know if there's an option to where speakers are in the side arms or no?
Actually, I do believe that they do have another set.
Okay.
That has got the speakers built in.
Okay.
So you could have the combination hearing aid glasses set up.
And have the text read on the lenses as well.
Right.
Well, that's very cool. Yep. Do you know where that company's based out of?
Not sure.
Okay.
No.
That's cool. Very cool. That's fascinating.
Yep.
On changing gears from HearView glasses, which are very cool. If you ever get a chance to use them, you definitely should. You are up and becoming in the, I would say, printing world.
Yeah.
Right.
Kinda. Yeah.
What's the actual definition?
Sublimation.
Sublimation.
Right.
So you got a printer, and we have some samples to show you. Actually, I'll show you the first sample. One of the things my guests will be getting now is a bear token or bear coin. I'm not quite sure what I'm calling it yet, but it's got my logo and the Bears Don't Fly podcast. It is made out of a very thin aluminum
disc.
Line. Thank you. I was thinking coin, but it's not a coin.
Yeah.
I'm calling it a coin. So they're super cool. But yeah, sublimation printing, and describe what sublimation printing is.
Well, sublimation is basically it's a special type of ink that can go from a solid straight to a gas, and that gas actually burns into the substrate that you're printing on too. Okay, so the process is that you have to have a special printer that can do the sublimation printing on transfer paper, and then the transfer paper and what you're printing onto then goes into a heat press. And then that's what allows you to burn the image to the substrate that you're putting it on. Sounds complex. It took a minute for me to figure it out, but it's not as complex once you get it going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you start going into it, then it all comes together, starts to make sense. But some of the things that I've done, let me pull up a couple other
Yeah.
things here. One of the things that we do at the at Sertoma is that we have a fundraiser in the form of a car show that we do each year. So this year, using the sublimation process, I decided to go ahead and make our own trophies. And this is an example of one of the trophies, and it is actually put on a piece of slate, similar to roofing slate, and it's quite heavy.
Yeah, they're solid.
And but the image just comes out beautiful, right? So we've kind of designed our own logo for the show itself, and then incorporate other design features into it. And then once we get that to where we want it, then we print it onto the transfer paper, and then we burn it onto the substrate.
Mm-hmm. Now with this show in particular, how long does it take for the print to be on the slate itself?
Yeah. So the process of using heat to transfer it onto the image, it depends on the substrate itself.
Mm-hmm.
So in this particular case, it's slate, which takes a while for it to heat up. So you have to leave it in the heat press for about 7 minutes. And then after the 7-minute period, you take it out, let it cool,
mm-hmm.
And tear the transfer paper off, and then you can see the image you've created.
But it in a sense burns onto.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word burn. It transfers the ink onto the substrate because of the heat.
Yeah.
The heat enables it to turn into a gas.
But like once it's on there, like you can watch this, it's not coming off.
Absolutely.
Like it's not gonna.
You're not gonna
deteriorate over time and all that.
Right.
Like
no, it'll last a lot longer than a photograph. Obviously.
Yeah.
It doesn't fade in the sun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't scratch easily like any kind of paper product.
Yeah.
So, what I envisioned with this business, and we're still at the very beginning. I just got the equipment last weekend.
Yeah.
Right. So a week in, I've already created about 40 items.
Yeah.
But I envision focusing in a couple of areas. One would be making memorials and keepsakes for the funeral industry,
mm-hmm.
right? So basically, we could set up little displays at funeral homes, and let me show you examples of that. I swung a little too fast. But here's a couple of examples. These are some obituaries that I've put together. And once again, I'm using the same kind of slate to put these on, but I have a lot of other products that I can create as well. And those products would be like, I've got an acrylic piece of clear plastic that I can put an image on, and then that acrylic sets in a cradle that lights up. So you'd have a lighted picture.
Underlighting.
Yeah, through the underlighting.
Uplighting, as you would call it.
Uplight, yeah. And I can make anything on metal. Another example that I can show is I've got a, let's see here, license plate. That this too is one of the awards that will be given away at our car show. It is on a license plate. It's made on aluminum, but once again, using the sublimation process, you can see how shiny it is, and it's a very hard surface.
And again, the quality of it is like it's gonna last. It doesn't deteriorate in the sun. It's kind of like what it's the same. You can correct me. It's the same processes of like stop signs are made in a sense where it's not gonna.
Yeah, I mean stop signs they do use paint, but but it's durable, right?
Durable. Yeah.
To explain durability, I mean, I've got one that I put on the front of my car. And you would think that after a year of driving it, you know, when you hit bugs or chips,
Yep.
and it would be all torn up, but it's not.
It's not.
It's still just as nice as it was when I put it on.
And then additionally, on top of Sleet doing aluminum products, you can do puzzles.
I can do puzzles.
What other products are you able to use with the machine?
Basically, anything you can imagine that is in a metal, I can get them any shape or size, right? There are companies who even custom cut shapes. So if you have a specific need, I can work on that as well. I can do clocks. Make custom clocks.
Okay.
I have slate that is actually cut into the shape of a heart.
Okay.
So one of the other industries that I want to focus on is the wedding industry, because, you know, for the keepsake, if you're looking at keepsakes is the business, what are those primary doorways that you walk through in life that are the big deals, right? And weddings and funerals are two of the biggest.
Right.
So and I want to make it affordable, right?
Yeah.
So if you go into a funeral home today and you see that you can get a keepsake, maybe you can get a necklace with the deceased's thumbprint on it, you're going to pay several $100s for that, right? Well, just because somebody passed away, a loved one has passed away, doesn't mean all of a sudden you became rich. Right. You still need the option to have affordable pieces. Right. So if we're looking at you know, these things that we can put onto slate or that we can put them onto acrylic, you know, you're still looking at a very affordable range.
Yeah.
You know, around the $60 mark.
Yeah.
So that's a niche market that is not currently being served, at least in the venues that I've looked at, right? So I think that's a gap that we can fill.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you'd mentioned, I had asked, I was like, oh, can you do, or when you talked about doing puzzles, it's like, oh, that'd be cool. Cause now you wouldn't only partner, let's say any of the couples that I would have a custom puzzle built for, but now you're also getting in partnership with the photographer to get that professional image that they took to send to you, or to send to me to send to you. That way you have the final image to work with.
Yep.
And what's the largest? 11 by
17 with the equipment that I have today
is the largest square inches that you're able to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think 11 by 17, that's a perfect size for a couple's puzzle. Let's go. That's so fun. Now, so wait, I do have a question though. So in doing, like when you do your car shows, are you hosting these car shows, or Sertoma is hosting them or partnering?
Yes and yes. I mean, Sertoma is our organization, right? I'm the treasurer of the organization, and I'm in charge of the fundraisers.
Okay.
So, yes, I am doing that.
Okay. So this helps you be more creative, be like, let's get some trophies made or plaques made for people.
Yeah. See, we would buy trophies from a trophy shop prior to this, right?
Yeah.
Now I can be creative and make my own.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think I like these better because they're just more unique.
Yep.
And you can customize them every year.
Oh yeah.
It's like you can save the final image work, and then you can go back and tweak a few things for the following years to come.
Yeah.
And kind of keep the same branding process with everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yep.
So you actually have a few events coming up.
I do. Yes.
That's fun. Which one you want to go over first?
Let's go the Motorama first.
So the Mansfield Motorama, June 22nd, 2025. It is People's Choice Awards, raffle and door prizes, food, drinks, games, Hot Wheel races, 50/50 drawing, craft show, music, and it's at the Mansfield Fire Museum. So talk about that.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's talk about the Mansfield Fire Museum.
Yes.
Um, uh, uh, just because I get bored easily and I need more stuff to do, I volunteer there as well.
Okay.
But if you've never seen this museum, it is one of probably the top 3 premier fire museums in the country.
And when you say fire museum,
So it's got all kinds of historical displays, uh, uh, several fire trucks on display,
okay.
some that have been completely restored. And it's just been very well done. It's not a super large museum, but the work that they have done has been top notch. Very, very well done. They actually have a street that they created inside the building that emulates a street in downtown Mansfield.
Oh, okay.
So they've got, the diner and a library. They've got a little jail in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It's a lot of fun. Anyhow, the access to the museum on that day is free of charge.
Okay.
Visitors to the car show are free of charge.
Okay.
So we're trying to encourage as many people as possible to come.
Yeah.
The registration of the cars is from 10 to 12, and then the show is from 12 to 4.
Okay.
What we've seen in the past is about 125 participants that come to register.
They'll bring their cars.
They'll bring their cars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's, we expect that to grow this year as long as the
Okay.
weather holds out.
Yeah.
You never know, right?
Yeah. So how's that working lining up the cars? Are they all outside?
Yeah.
Lined up in the street, just reserved areas?
Well, we've got
that
a
come
very
and park
large
and-
parking lot. We can probably accommodate up to 300 cars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's exactly what we do.
That's cool. And this is to benefit supports children with hearing loss.
That's correct.
And there's limited edition collector coin, which
the
you
coin.
have that. Yep.
I do have that.
The limited edition collector coin for the first 125 registrants.
Yeah. I don't know if your camera zooms in.
I'm sure I'll crop in on it.
But
He showed me this when we were out at lunch, and I'm like, ooh, I like that. So it's literally a coin. You see that? And then on the back side,
challenge coin.
very thick coin.
Yep.
It's very weighty.
So the first 125 people to register will get one of these along with a goodie bag of, local
Swag bag.
Swag bag, all the local vendors that have got things that they want to donate. Then we throw those in there as well.
Now, is this a yearly thing
It is.
you create? And
Yep.
because you're the host of it all. Like, you're the guy that puts this together and gets everything planned and organized, which I'm sure is really easy to do, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I do it in my sleep.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm
it's
sure now
interesting.
you probably can do it
The
in your
first
sleep.
year, you're banging your head against the wall, like trying to figure it all out. But then after doing it for a while, it's like I've created an Excel workbook now.
Yeah.
Where I have a different page for each function of the show.
Yeah.
So now it's just kind of like going through, make sure I do all my check marks and that I'm doing everything that I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. June 22nd at the Mansfield Fire Museum. That's cool. Very cool. Now, on to this next event on July 5th, 2025.
Yes. Right.
Prince Charles Williams Knock Out Child Poverty.
Yes.
And you meet and greet the great champs. I'm going to list a few that are on this paper. One is Prince Charles Williams. He's an IBF light heavyweight belt from 1987 to 1993. Then you have Sugar Ray Seals, 1972 Olympic gold medalist, 1971 National AAU light welterweight champion, and then 1972 National Golden Gloves. And then Michael Spinks from 1974-1976 National Golden Gloves Championship, and then 1976 Olympic gold medalist. How did you get all them?
Actually, Charles and I kind of go back
Okay.
We've got a little history. Right?
Okay.
Years ago, I was investing in some real estate, and this was shortly after Charles had retired from boxing. You know, you retire from boxing at a much younger age than most people, right?
Yes. Yes.
After getting smacked around a bit, making your money.
Yes.
But he was in a mode where he didn't need the cash, right? Because he had earned a lot through
His career.
boxing. I mean, he was champ for 6 years running. Right?
Yeah.
But he was bored. He needed something to do. So he actually came to work for me.
Okay.
He became my lawnmower guy.
That's so fun.
So he did my lawns and he did my evictions.
Okay.
So when we got to a point that we had
That's
to do
a guy you
an
want doing
eviction
evictions.
carry out, nobody messed with Charles, right?
And this is when you were in the real estate business. Yeah.
Yep. So anyhow, you know, we last year or 2 years ago, there was a proclamation filed in the city of Mansfield.
Okay.
To make it Prince Charles William's Day.
Okay.
And they named a street after him.
Okay.
And so he was kind of given the go ahead to use his day however he wanted, right? So he worked with a couple of community centers around town, and they decided that they would take this knockout child poverty approach.
Okay.
And that they would help kids fund things that they need for upcoming school year, right? So last year was the first event that he did, and it was basically at one of the community centers where he gave away backpacks and stuff, and it was so popular, he wished he had more, and he wanted to expand and make the event bigger.
Okay.
So he and I got to talking about let's make a community event of it, right? You can still do those things. We'll bring the champs into town. They'll sign autographs. We'll do a car show. And it's going to be in the municipal parking lot adjacent to the carousel, the Richland Carousel Park, where you've got a working carousel. So it's a family event. And the champs themselves then will vote on who gets the trophies in the car show, which I think is kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun for them. Yeah, it says over 130 backpacks to be given to area children, packed full of supplies on first come basis. So basically, you just hand them out, and then when they're out, they're done.
They're done.
Yeah,
but that'll help us gauge what we need next year. As well.
And the car shows from 3 to 8 p.m. July 5th.
Yep. We're going to have a DJ there, but we're also going to have a little bit of live entertainment. There's going to be a praise group, dancers of like 5-year-old little girls. Right?
Okay.
And just cute as can be.
Okay.
Right? And then Charles's son has a band where he does rap music.
Okay.
But he does praise rap.
Okay.
And we're going to have him do a set for us as well.
Okay, cool. And then correct me if I'm wrong. Michael Spinks. He was the only one to knock out?
No.
Who was that?
That was his brother, Leon.
His brother, Leon. Okay.
So Leon Spinks. Now, Leon since passed away.
Yeah.
I think he died in 2021.
Okay.
But Leon, he's the Spinks brothers were big in boxing back in the day. But Leon was the only boxer to ever knock out Muhammad Ali,
which is pretty wild.
That's one tough hombre.
Coming in with that strong right hook, man.
Yeah.
So unpredictable. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
And you were in the real estate game for a little bit.
I was.
What got you into that?
What got me into that? Well, it was it was kind of an accident too. My whole life's been a bunch
Your
of
whole life is
accidents,
just
right?
a
Just one
successful
big
accident, you know?
I was actually looking for a piece of property that I wanted to build a house on.
Okay.
Okay. And we had talked earlier that I kind of grew up near Amish country. And there was this 5-acre plot of land that one of the Amish had up for sale. And I went over and looked at it, and I thought, that's a nice spot. And I bought it for, picture this. Back then, I bought 5 acres of land for $8,000.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So
Oh
then,
my gosh.
so the next day after we closed on the property, the next day I was kind of out there walking the property. I'm kind of visualizing in my head where things are going to go
Yeah.
and what I'm going to do. Right. And a guy walks up the road. He's the next door neighbor. And he said, so you selling this place? Because he saw the for sale sign.
Okay.
And I hadn't taken it down yet. It just happened. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I just bought it. And he seemed disappointed, right? It's like, darn, I wished I'd have known it was for sale.
Yeah.
I was going to buy it. And I saw you couldn't have written this any better, but a guy was driving down the road and he pulls off the side of the road, and he walks over and he says, you selling this place?
Oh my gosh.
And I told the one guy what I had paid for it. And I said, I'm really not looking to sell it. But they started talking between themselves, and they was doing a bidding war. It's like, well, I'll give him 10,000. No, I'll give him 12.
Oh my gosh.
And they got to the point where the one guy had gotten up to $15,000. I give you $15,000 today. I just paid $8,000 the day before.
Right.
Right.
Doubling the next day. Let's
So
go.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
I'll find another piece of land, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so I went ahead and sold it that day.
Okay.
And then I got to thinking, I said, if I made that much on accident, how much could I make if I did it on purpose? Right. So that kind of drew me in.
Okay.
And I started investing at that point.
So how much real estate are you still in real estate? Do you still have?
No, they're all gone.
Okay.
I've sold them all out.
What was your peak?
At one point I had over 250 houses.
250?
That's why I needed Charles.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you needed a retired professional champion boxer as your evict guy.
Right.
250 houses.
250 houses.
That is some work.
It is. And I think when you're managing it yourself, it burns you out. Which is why I ultimately got out of it.
Yeah.
When somebody has a problem of some kind, it inevitably becomes the landlord's problem, right?
Yeah.
They wreck their car, they can't go to work, they can't pay their rent.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody's got an addiction problem, right? They'll go out and they'll buy their drugs or alcohol or whatever. If there's any money left over, maybe the landlord will see some of it.
Yeah.
But it just got to be too much of that. Every month you could count on the fact that a certain percent of your tenants were either not going to pay or going to struggle to pay.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to go to the courts and go through the eviction process and go to the carryout process. And it loses its pizzazz. You lose all the fun, right?
Yeah.
Out of it. So, it kind of sucks the life out of you.
Yeah. Now, in your process of starting to get out of that field, did a company ever come in? Like, did you sell or get rid of in bulk? Did a company come in and go, hey, we'll buy X amount of homes? Or
so there was a group of properties that I was buying on like a land contract basis.
Okay.
And I was able to move those out in bulk.
Okay.
And that was about 100 properties in that group.
Okay.
So yeah, that made it a lot easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you in that for?
Probably 10 years.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And what years were those?
That would have been around 90 to 2000
Okay.
time frame.
Okay. And then so after your real estate, is that when you started getting into IT? Like
No.
what did you do after real estate?
Well, actually, yeah, I was in IT from the time that I got out of school, right?
Okay.
Well, technically they hadn't invented IT yet. That's how old I am. Right? I was in electronics. I should say that.
Yeah.
Electronics. And then, IT was invented around 1980 time frame, and I worked that. And then I got to the point where I started investing in real estate after I got up to about 35 houses, 40 houses or so. And I thought, I'm generating enough income now from that that I should be able to live on. And so I made the transition to focus on that full time.
Okay.
And, the first 35 were harder to get than the later ones because you didn't have any cash flow when you start out.
Yeah.
Right. And then your cash flow builds over time.
Yeah.
So I grew faster after that. So I was self-employed in real estate for about 6 years.
Okay.
Right. Even though I was building it up prior to that.
Okay.
And then after I got out of that, I went to work for a company that does key systems PBX, which I told you about, right? And then I did that for a couple years. That slowed down. I actually, from that role, I picked up on the latest technology, which was voice over IP technology. And that's where, voice packets were converted into data, sent out over the internet, and then converted back to voice at the other end, right? So that enabled you to be able to converse over fiber optics as opposed to having dedicated telephone lines.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like the world had been accustomed to all these years. So about that time, Hurricane Katrina came along and took out New Orleans. Okay. FEMA put out a call to everyone who was in technology. If you've got an idea, whatever it is, we are open to hearing it technology-wise. We're open to hearing from you if we could establish communications in places like that
were affected
in the future, right?
Okay.
It was too late for that particular event, but they wanted to be they were not satisfied with the preparedness because it took them 6 days just to get communications into the Silverdome, if you remember.
I don't remember too much about Hurricane Katrina, but I know being in North Carolina, having their experience with communication, some places it took them a week to reach people. And
right. And that's way into the future. Right.
Yeah.
So they should have done a better job with that.
Right.
So I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, okay, so I've got voice over IP. I wonder if that will work if I bounce it off of a satellite instead of running it over a fiber optic cable.
Yeah.
So I did some experiments and it worked. There was a little bit of latency by about 3/4 of a second.
Okay.
But it was very usable.
Yeah.
Right. So I built out this voice over IP device. I actually made a trailer that had a backup generator, had a battery pack in it, a backup battery pack with the built-in rectifiers and chargers. And it was set up to accommodate up to 20 telephones and 20 PCs.
Wow.
and it could run without being refueled for over 6 days.
Wow.
So basically, and no other power source was needed. You could take the trailer, the unit, drop it into a ravaged area with a helicopter in the middle of a field, and you've got a field office ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. So I then got a patent on this thing.
Okay.
Contacted FEMA. FEMA invited us to bring it over to Mount Weather, Washington, where we did a demonstration. They were impressed with it. They put us in contact with the Coast Guard, and their headquarters were in Miami. We took it down to Miami, did a demonstration of it there, and it's now being used, at least at that time. There may be technology overtaking it now, but at that time they used it for primary disaster relief, then for the Gulf Coast and the lower Atlantic seaboard.
Okay.
So they used my design
How
for that.
cool is that?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So I'm an inventor as well.
Just adding that to the list of things.
It's a thing, right?
That's so cool. And so in doing that, so on top of that, but then also when you were like in your IT era working for, would you say Quest?
Quest.
Okay.
Yeah.
What manufacturers did you partner with?
Well, when I was with Quest, I was working on things that they already had established.
Okay.
So it was whatever they had purchased, right?
Okay.
So, but in the when I was in the key PBX era, worked a lot with ShoreTel. That was the primary vendor that we used. Now, ShoreTel then had they did a lot of things to thank the people that helped them be successful. Because up until this point, not a lot of people had heard of ShoreTel.
Yeah.
And by virtue of it being the premier disaster recovery system now, people took notice, right? So they grew exponentially after that.
Okay.
Right. And as a result, I got to participate in a lot of their outings and stuff that they did. Right. So they had a customer appreciation weekend in San Francisco that I attended, but they actually now you could go out to Alcatraz Island, right, where the prison is, and tour it. What they did was actually it's a state park, but after it closed at night, they rented the entire facility, and we got to go there and spend the whole night at the prison.
Oh, okay.
And they had a buffet set up for food stuff. They had entertainment there, and we just kind of hung at the prison. And I'll tell you, one of the coolest sights that you can see that you never see is the city of San Francisco from the bay looking in.
Oh, okay.
And it's beautiful.
I'm sure.
Right?
That's cool.
So that was cool.
That's cool. I was asking that question because years ago when I was doing landscaping, I worked privately through another company, but every day, 40-hour work weeks for John Baker, the founder of Micro Center.
Ah, okay.
He lives out in Dublin. So him, his wife Bernie, at the time their housemate, she was a sweet old lady. But got to know John pretty well and how he got his whole startup, and it is super fascinating guy. Really fascinating guy, because he got his start in Radio Shack. He was a manager at Radio Shack, and he realized when microwaves came out, he knew microwaves were going to be a big hit. So he started selling those in his Radio Shack store. He became popular, just built and built and built and built and built. And now, he's been on the board for, I don't know what he's doing now with his life, but he was on the board for Apple and like all these huge success things. But just crazy how people get their start in things that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
accidentally or not, that happen. But if you just take it and run with it, you never know where it's going to go. So that's why I was asking, because
You know, I use the word accident, but really it's opportunities.
opportunities. Yeah.
Right. And I do live by a theory. The opportunity of a lifetime comes around every other day if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's the ability to seize an opportunity when you see it.
Yeah.
That's the difference between, you know, those who are just muddling through life versus those who are successful.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I love it. Well, do you have any words of insight, wisdom you want the viewers to know? Any websites that, because you're still building a website for this, right?
I am.
Okay.
I am. The name of the company is Gift Grinder.
Gift Grinder.
Slogan is grind out the perfect gift.
There you go.
And so our website is giftgrinder.com. Right now it's just a welcome page. I don't have it built out yet, but as we talked about during lunch, my vision is to set up a catalog where you can pick and choose various components and kind of build your own thing. And then I'll create it and send it to you.
So it'd be all customizable for the person.
It's
right.
I want it to be very personal.
Yeah.
To the individual.
Yeah.
Because that's what a gift is all about. I mean, you can go to the store and you can buy a trinket and you can give it to somebody, but how personal is that, right? But if it's an inside joke or a story that only you two know, and you can put it on something that doesn't wear out over time,
right,
then it really means something to that person.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the weddings and the obituaries and stuff, you can attach photographs to it, so you can remember the event or the person forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah. Makes it much more personable.
Yep.
For the experience and gift giving.
So. And affordable.
That's
an important part of it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, good deal, man. This has been a lot of fun. And is there any other topic, any other thing you want to touch base on?
Well, you're pretty thorough.
I try to be. I try to be thorough. You know,
I feel like
it's all about interviewing, man.
Yeah. Maybe you should have studied to be a proctologist. You were very thorough.
Maybe that'll be an opportunity down the road.
There's an opportunity of a lifetime.
Of a lifetime.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome, man. Well, this has been fun, and I'm excited for the bear tokens.
Okay.
The bear tokens.
We will get you taken care of.
I placed an order today for quite a few of these. So if you come on the show, you're going to get a bear token. So yeah, cool. Well, follow, subscribe, Bears Don't Fly on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. Again, I'm getting better and better as I launch that at the end of every show, basically. Yeah. But yeah, this has been a good time, man. Thank you for coming on. And
thanks, everybody. Nice meeting y'all.
There we go. That's all she wrote. Love it, dude.